Hello and welcome into the Pulse. This week we've got a lot of news for you, and we need to get started with some local news out of Clarksville.
Last week, Clarksville School District posted on Facebook, they made an announcement concerning flying flags out of vehicles on their school property. Apparently there was an issue that came up last week where they had found out and been made aware of a group of students. They were going to another business. I believe it was like the parking lot of the movie theater there in Clarksville. They were going to attach flags to their vehicle and then go to school with the flags flying attached to their vehicle. There was a lot of concerns, a lot of safety concerns. So the school announced prior to that they're enacting a policy that flying flags out of vehicles or flags being displayed on school district property will not be tolerated, will not be allowed. There will be consequences for those actions. So when they first found out the information, they spoke to a Clarksville police officer. They had the officer meet with the group of students and speak to them. This has been kind of a bit of a controversy there in Clarksville. People are saying, well, that we have a right to fly a flag. We have a right to express ourselves and our opinions and stuff. The Clarksville Police Department states that they respect every citizen's freedom to exercise their First Amendment rights. So it's not necessarily a police department thing. It's just a policy that the school district has come up with. According to others that have said it's not just a thing about a flag, they are stating that a teacher was offended by something, a 16-year-old, some kind of flag, and then kind of picked at the student for a bit and then contacted the police department. The police department said they have a right to do that we can't do anything about it. And so that's what initiated this whole process. So not very many people are very happy. I mean, Policy is policy, and we all want to follow the rules, but as far as the law goes, you have a right to fly a flag, just don't do it on school property.
I'm torn on this. I don't know enough of the details, but I can see both sides of this. On one hand, you don't want somebody flying a Nazi flag in your school parking lot. But on the other side, a public school is a government entity. And the First Amendment says that the government can't make a law about free speech. So that's kind of a touchy subject. I'm sure that Dr. Hopkins and his the law team with the district has thought about this and that they've got some sort of reason for what they're doing, but it's pretty interesting.
Well, this is not the only school district that I've heard enacting policies about flying flags. For instance, Russellville School District also does not allow flag flying in their parking lot, to the football fields, anywhere on their property as well. They say that safety concerns as well. A while back there was a story about that where a guy was wanting to fly a flag, American flag, and he got in trouble for it. So,
18 years ago, about this time, my friends and I were driving down that same street there in Clarksville, hanging 12, 13 people out of my van. So it's not a flag, but it's something that we got in a little trouble, and you can't do that anymore. So we'll see what comes of this and see if that's something that becomes a bigger issue. It could very easily go higher than this. So we'll see how that goes. And like we said, we don't have any opinion on the matter. We're just giving you our thoughts, and that's the news from Clarksville. So next up, Michelle, what do we have?
On Tuesday afternoon, there was a survey vessel named after a local boat operator that worked for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. He was there for about 25 years after serving 4 years in the Navy. His name is Robert Euless Peavy. He was born in 1951, but a survey vessel was named after him. They christened it. It was christened by his son, Thomas Peavy, who broke the bottle of champagne off of it. It was interesting.
That's cool.
But they put it in service on Tuesday, and this was held down at the Dardanelle Lock and Dam. But they're celebrating 50 years of the Arkansas River Navigation System, and this was kind of like the event that kicked off the 50-year anniversary. So he was recognized. Several people spoke about him. They did the christening of the USPV, I believe.
USS?
No, it is the survey vessel PV.
Okay.
Sorry. But survey vessel PV was put into service after all that. Robert's family was in attendance and were there for the christening and for the presentations and stuff. So congratulations to the PV family and
to the river.
Yes.
50 years.
We have a new survey vessel.
50 years. I know, speaking of Clarksville, my friend Jay Townsend, who I went to school with, called and was talking about how big of a deal it is that the Arkansas River is, what all it entails as far as the.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have
Yes.
some more information about that later, because he gave me quite a bit of detail and a press release on that. So that's a pretty cool event and a pretty cool thing for the folks involved there. Congratulations to Mr. Peavy and his family, or I guess his family. Is he still with us?
He passed away in August 23rd of 2011 after he retired. So
cool. So about 10 years to the time that he passed away. So that's a good memento for his family to have there. So let's take our first break. We'll be back with much more news right after this.
Our world has changed a lot in a short time, but your health and safety remain our number one priority. We have the supplies needed and processes in place to keep you safe. We've implemented visitor restrictions, and we are reducing physical contact as much as possible. Patients and employees are required to wear masks for your protection and theirs, and your care team is screened daily. So don't wait to get the care you need. We're here for you, today and always.
If you need me, text me. I'm here to help.
Text your information to Russellville Tips, 226-787. Remember, safety is a team effort. We're all in this together.
With the continuing effort to keep our district the safest district in the state of Arkansas, we are introducing an anonymous tip line. The number is 226-787. If you will text Russellville Tips to that number, we will be here to help you.
Join the Tyson family in Clarksville, Arkansas, now offering a $1,000 sign-on bonus. Enjoy a 4-day work schedule with 3-day weekends. Pay starts at $15 up to $16.50, plus a 50-cent shift premium for second shift, along with great department incentives. For more information, please call 479-979-1542 or 479-979-1563.
Welcome back. Thank you once again to all of our sponsors who help keep everything that we do at River Valley Now free to you, including the Pulse here today. We've got another cool thing that a local business has done. We try to shine a light on positive things as often as we can with some of the bad stuff that we have to talk about here from time to time. But a really cool thing was done last week by a local business, and I'm finding out, the more I find out about these folks, the more I like what they do. And it was a pretty neat thing that they did to help another local nonprofit.
yes, Box Drop Mattress. They're located on South Arkansas Avenue. I believe they've been in town for about 3 months or so, operating there at that location. They announced that they were going to donate 15 twin or full mattresses to a local nonprofit, which is the River Valley Battered Women's and Children's Shelter that's located here. And they did that after their owners, who is Keith and Russell Graham, they wanted to give back to the community. They're going to start picking different nonprofits each month to try to donate to and to give back to. Well, their manager took a trip to the River Valley Battered Women's and Children's Shelter, and he noticed a huge need for mattresses. He stated when we were meeting, he was stating that the mattresses were just, absolutely terrible. And since they had mattresses and that's their business, they decided we're going to donate these brand new mattresses to, awesome. And they also donated the covers for the mattresses as well. Not only that, but they also announced that they would be a drop-off location for any and all donations that anyone would like to make to the shelter. So if you have different items that you can donate, if you want to donate cash, you can donate, you can write a check. Either way, you can drop those off there at that location, and it's at 1610 South Arkansas Avenue. It's at Suite 2. They're looking for things such as non-perishable food items, towels, washcloths, clothes for women, undergarments for women. They said that there's a big need for that because not everybody, donates things like that. Pillows, blankets, clothing, anything for a baby or a toddler. They need those kind of items. But meeting with them, they have been in a ministry as far as giving back to the community and doing things for others for a very long time. They moved here from somewhere else, but that's what they do, cool. And that's what they're good at. And so they've started again, and so they're doing some really good things in the community. So thank you for them.
Definitely.
For making the donation. And and saying, hey, you can drop all the stuff off here. That's a
Yeah.
lot to deal with
That's
for
pretty
somebody.
cool. Well, I talked with Rebecca, our sales manager. She's been in contact with them, and the way they do business. And you'll have to talk to them and find out why they do it the way they do it. I don't want to give away all their information and secrets, but so you'll have to go see them at Boss Strap Mattress. But that's 1610 South Arkansas. But what they're doing is a great thing for the local nonprofits, and like you said, there'll be more that they'll donate to, and hopefully you'll give them a shot at your business, because what they're doing is very helpful. And also, who doesn't need a mattress every once in a while? You got to replace that thing, because it would be like mine and just sagging in the middle. Not a whole lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a very competitive industry in this town right now too, as far as mattresses. So, all right, moving on. We've got another one. We've had some good news so far. It kind of gets a little rough now.
This weekend was a little rough. There's been different incidents that happened over and over, but Saturday morning, about 3:51, there was a call of, initially it came out as a report of a strong-armed robbery, and an individual was struck in the back of the head with a pistol. And this occurred around the 1100 block of East 9th. There's this Treeview Apartments that is right there. And it happened at one of those apartments there. So the Russell Police Department responded. Pope County EMS also responded and did transport one male who had been struck in the head. This was investigated. They were beating on doors. They were trying to get people to answer questions. They took the report. They went back to the hospital to check on the guy after he had been transported, but they didn't make contact with the suspect. They felt like they knew who the suspect was, but in continuing their investigation, they got a warrant for his arrest at about 11:30 Saturday morning and went back to the apartment complex. Well, when they got back to the apartment complex, they visited the man's door. They knocked on the door. He would not open the door. He refused to open the door, but they knew he was inside. So that began a standoff for quite some time. At about anywhere between 1 and 2 o'clock, the apartment complex was evacuated. They had people exit their apartments because they were going to make contact, and they were going to probably force entry is what they had planned to do, I'm sure. His name was Edward Didier, 65. He lived in the apartment complex right there. He was arrested after he surrendered. There were several officers that assisted, several investigators. There were no injuries as far as that, him surrendering and stuff. He was not evaluated, even though Pope County EMS was on standby. They were on standby off scene in a secure area. So they transported him and they booked him into the Pope County Detention Center and charged him with aggravated assault and aggravated residential burglary. He appeared in bond hearings this morning where Judge Bourne set his bond for $100,000, and so he remains at the Pope County Detention Center. In an update, I spoke to someone who was involved in the situation, and it was a mother and her son and the son was struck in the back of the head with a firearm. He went to the hospital. He received staples, and then he was released. He should be fine. He came back home. Everything's okay. They're just glad that the guy was caught. He was arrested, and he is in custody. So,
Man.
Yeah, it made for a long afternoon for officers. It was kind of
and
at one time
for
they
all
had
those people who had to leave their apartment.
Yes, there's people everywhere, and I think RPD also used one of their dogs. So the dog again was put into good use and was assisted officers during that call.
Yeah,
So
let's see. Sounds good. Give him a treat. Give him a doggy treat.
Yeah.
Make sure that he stays on his toes there.
Right.
All right. Next up, we've got a 911 sort of emergency.
911 was called at about 8:20 on Saturday night, and initially it was called and dispatched as a high-angle rescue. What had occurred was a motor vehicle collision. A vehicle was traveling on State Highway 363. You can go up 363 on the Pottsville side, and then it goes down on the Atkins side. Well, this car was traveling south on 363, where it started entering those sharp curves, if you've ever been there. The curves are really sharp. The initial report was the car left the roadway. When it left the roadway, it traveled down the bluff, and it was in some trees. So Pope County Sheriff's Office, Arkansas State Police, several rescue units as far as Atkins and Pope County EMS Rescue were also called for the high-angle rescue. Atkins Fire Department responded Atkins Police Department. There was several people that responded to that. When they got there, they found the vehicle had left the roadway right there in the curve, but it only traveled about 20 feet off of the roadway, and it did not travel down the bluff. There were no injuries. There was no need for rescue, so they canceled them. But for quite some time, it was kind of trying to locate them. Their location, they figured out their location by pinging their cell phone, and it said they were on Hudson Road, which is pretty kind of near there. But they later found them on 363. The family, like I said, nobody was injured. The family it was 3 adults and 2 children. One of the boys had football pads, so I don't know if there was some football going on here or something, but they were from Little Rock. They were not familiar with the area. It was dark. It was kind of starting to get a little foggy, and so they were going around the curve and did not realize how sharp it was and left the roadway. So very lucky. They were stopped by several trees and a street sign, so without that, they may have gone too far.
That's a major fear of mine, driving off of Crow Mountain. They're on the Atkins side, obviously on the Pottsville side, and then the Russellville side even. So it's pretty sharp over in a couple of those places. So that's always been a fear of mine, like just accidentally driving. When I was a kid in Clarksville, coming down off Lake Ludwig, and those sharp, it's not even as sharp as it seemed like it was when I was a kid, thinking the bus might drive up. So that's always been a fear of mine.
It was
that would
very
be
dark,
terrifying.
And so that would be, especially if you've never been down that road before and you're lost. You don't know what to tell people.
But they won't be back.
Yeah, they may not be.
They're going to Little Rock, and they will not be back on Crow Mountain. All right. We need to take our final break. We've got a couple more news stories right after this.
Danny Hips here at Phil Wright Autoplex. It's March, and that means mad savings all across the lot on your favorite Buick SUV. Experience Buick during the month of March with up to 22% below MSRP on the 2020 Buick Encore GX, or 0% financing for 72 months. 2020 Buick Envisions up to $7,450 purchase loans, or 0% financing for 72 months when you finance with GM Financial. Experience Buick at Phil Wright Autoplex. 45 years in counting. Exit 84 just off I-40, Russellville, or 24/7 online at philwright.com.
You finally find a new sofa. Then you find out it's going to be delivered in 10 to 12 weeks. Not at Good Deal Charlie's in Russellville. We have everything in stock and ready to go home with you today. We're overstocked on mattresses starting at $299. Sofa and love seat combos and sectionals from $599. Even bedroom suites from $799. 0% interest and no credit needed financing options available on all bedrooms, mattresses, living rooms, and dining rooms. Buy today and get it in your home today. Good Deal Charlie's in Russellville. GoodDealCharlie.com.
Welcome back to our last segment of the Pulse this week. We've got a doozy here in our next to last news story. Michelle, it seems like one of those that could have been way worse, but either way, it was wild.
Yes, it was. Right after the accident that occurred on Highway 363, and actually while I was there on scene, I heard a call dispatched of it was like a welfare concern, actually, on Maple Springs Road. A male individual had... he was intoxicated. He was very suicidal. He had made threats to himself to harm himself, and he was there in the area on Maple Springs Road. So law enforcement started responding to that area. Dispatch tried to obtain additional information concerning the man, concerning the incident, whatever. It was known that he did have knives, he did have a rifle, he did have a handgun, he had different weapons. It was unknown at first whether or not he was armed whenever they were responding. When they did respond, he barricaded himself in his truck. They attempted to make contact with the man, they tried to talk to him. He was very, like I said, intoxicated, but he started getting really aggravated. He stayed aggravated the entire time, and then they observed that he in fact had a firearm. So they backed up and began negotiations. It was Pope County Sheriff's Office deputies at first, and they stayed there the entire time for the negotiations. They did ask for assistance, and the Russellville Police Department and Pottsville Police Department also responded to give them assistance. Pope County EMS, several units responded, just rotated because they were there for several hours. They were on standby at the area of Crow Mountain Road and Maple Springs Road, just in case there was injury. But this guy, for hours, they tried to get him to give himself up. He kept threatening his life. He kept threatening. It finally got to a point to where he would shut off the truck and he would start to come out, and he would, like I said, he would tell the officers, I'm fixing to go out in a blaze of glory. It's suicide by cops. He was taunting them. He was calling them names, cussing. It was absolutely terrible. But it ended at about 2 a.m., Once they talked him down, they were able to apprehend him, put him in custody. There was nobody injured. It could have ended really, really tragically either way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was taken into custody, taken to receive some help.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people you don't put guys that are suicidal in jail. That's not going to help them. They need counseling. Well,
Yeah.
I can attest to this story. Pope County Sheriff Shane Jones was on scene, and I spoke to him. It wasn't as important for them to take him to jail and to charge him as to make sure that this individual got counseling, got
help,
medical treatment immediately.
Yeah.
For depression and for the suicidal thoughts and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I want to say thank you to all the officers that were there. It was a
I'm sure his family does too.
It was very, very intense for quite some time. I've got video that I've posted, and in part of the video you can actually hear him yelling, and I was in a safe zone is what they called it, away from that, and you could still hear him. I mean, he was so angry, but he needed so much help. He was
Man. Well, a big thank you, as always, to the first responders and those who were out there. I imagine that was a very tense situation, and you all handled yourself well, and were fortunately able to keep this man alive to where he can get the help that he hopefully will be able to use and that he definitely needs. So we need to move on to the next one. Man, that was a rough one. This one is much, much better. A great, great story to end the day on.
If you remember, there was a fire on February 13th. It was early morning fire that destroyed a Pope County deputy's home. They also lost a child in the incident, and they lost everything they owned.
That's not the good part.
Right. It was on Old Highway 124. After that fire occurred, the Pope County Sheriff's Office got together. They partnered with some different people, and they did a Thomas Gibson benefit gun raffle. And so they sold raffle tickets for a drawing for an AR-15. It came with ammo, magazines, ammo can, and several people contributed to that. Well, after selling the raffle tickets, they had the drawing Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m., and they went live on the Pope County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. And during that drawing, they announced Russell Brooks was the winner of those items, and they also announced that they raised over $31,000 in this raffle, $31,755 to be exact, and that is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's a lot of raffle tickets, but that's going to make a huge difference to this family for replacing things that they lost to help them get on their feet. The Pope County Sheriff's Office would like to thank Pete Jenin from Jenin, I think it's a Cerakote company, Kyle Cromer with Relentless Firearms, Jake Hale, and Mike Steele. They all donated different items that went into that package, and they took the time to say, hey, we want to help you in this fundraiser.
That's
so,
awesome.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, money can't bring people back, and it can't bring back mementos and things that mean a lot to you, but $31,000 will go a long way toward helping somebody get back in the family, get back on their feet. So that's definitely a great thing that a lot of people partook in helping this family, and that's kind of what this community is all about. So we definitely appreciate that and everybody who made that possible. So before Michelle, I'm Mark. We got to get out of here. We've got a lot of news that we've given you today. We hope you'll share this with your friends and come back next week for more of The Pulse.